Um, Meister Eckhart is often quoted as saying, if there's only one expression that we use, and that is thank you, that sums it all up. So we thank God and we thank each other for everything and every experience that is in our life. So today is December 1st. Welcome to December, the last month of the year. And I think we often say, where has this year gone? It seems like we were just celebrating Christmas a couple of days ago, and now we're anticipating it a couple of days in advance of here. We begin our theme this month for the month of December with the overarching title, which is Sticking the Landing, and I'll highlight a little bit more of what that means. Our topic today is standing on solid air. As we think about this topic or the theme, sticking to the landing, we're reminded of a gymnast. At the end of the spins and twirls, the gymnast must land upright on their feet at the end of that performance. And that is what is called or known as sticking the landing. We have that same opportunity to stick the landing by practicing our universal spiritual principles. Our consistent practice of these principles allows us to land on our feet, regardless of the circumstances or the situations that we find ourselves in or what's going on around us. And so we begin our series this month with some core beliefs from our Science of Mind teachings as the solid air or our thought upon which we stand. Ernest Holmes is quoted in the New Thought Dictionary as saying, "The circle, a symbol representing the infinite, the first cause, before it moves into manifest form. The circle of life represents the coming of spirit into matter, and in its upward sweep, our journey from materiality into pure spirit, our perfected state is then realized." And I wish I had a teaching symbol here in front of me to illustrate, but for those of you who are familiar with the Science of Mind teaching symbol, it is a circle, and the circle represents the circumference of the circle represents eternality. There's no place where God is not. And then inside of that circle, if you can imagine, there are three sections, and then there is the V symbol, which descends down from the left and ascends back up to the right. If I'm facing the symbol, this is the way it goes. But anyway, what Holmes is talking about here, the circle itself represents infinity. And so the first great cause, if you can imagine the top of the V descending down through all parts of the circle, that is first cause or the manifest form. And then ascending back up the circle is the coming of spirit and matter. And this upward sweep is our journey from this material existence into the spiritual realm or our perfected state. And so today's topic, Standing on Solid Air, invites us to recognize that everything is created twice, first in mind and then in form. So our thinking and our beliefs become that powerful influence in our lives. In the field of quantum physics, we understand that things are never near as solid as they are perceived to be. What we call thought and form are both energy being shaped by our conscious expectations and perceptions. And again, our beliefs form our thoughts. This is a little story I'd like to share with you. I found this to be a very exciting story and one that I think is really relevant to today, even though the setting is 5 centuries ago. In the Indian village of Punjab lived a young man named Baba Nanak. He was deeply troubled by the violence around him, especially the turmoil between the Hindus and the Muslims. One day, he disappeared by the bank of the river. And after 3 days of not being seen, people thought that he had drowned and maybe was dead. However, on the third day, something about that third day experience, on the third day, he emerged with a vision of oneness of humanity throughout the entire world. The entire world was one. This vision threw him into a state of ecstatic wonder, and he began singing songs of devotion called Shabads. And a Shabad is a hymn, a sacred song, a sound, a verse, a vocal rendition, or a word, praising the divine and everything within him and around him, recognizing again the oneness of all that there is. Nanak thought that everyone could see this truth. He recognized that there's a voice inside of us that names itself as separate from you or another. But separateness is an illusion. This is one of the key teachings of our spiritual philosophy. Separateness is an illusion. When we quiet the chatter in our heads, our thoughts through music and meditation lead us into a place of stillness. And this is where we recognize that we are actually in a boundless experience, and all forms of separation disappear. We are a part of one another, and when we recognize that, this is when joy rushes in. Long after the moment passes, we can choose to remember the truth of our interconnectedness, that we all belong to one another. Baba Nanak grew to become the founder of Sikhism. And this story is from the book See No Stranger by Bal Karar, one of my new favorite authors. It's a wonderful book. I encourage you to get it if you don't already have it. Science of Mind teaches us that the infinite oneness is all that there is. And there are three aspects to this oneness. The first aspect is mind. And again, if you can envision our teaching symbol, the top third of the symbol is the mind. And this is where we live, move, and have our very beingness as God consciousness. This is where creation begins. The second aspect of oneness is the law. And this would be the center part of the teaching symbol. This is the creative medium of spirit. And then the third symbol of oneness is form. And this would be the lower part of the symbol. And this is where we recognize that we are living in this dimension of time and space. Another way of looking at it, and one of the ways that we taught it to the young people in junior church, was that think of this idea of a seed, a soil, and a plant. So the seed is that place in consciousness where first cause is. And then the soil is the fertile part, that fertile part where the seed is planted into that. And it is through the soul experience that we nurture that seed with light, with water, with good fertilization, proper nutrition. And as the seed grows, this is what the plant that forms from that. This is the demonstration, or this is the manifestation. So if you want to know what's going on in your life, look at what's demonstrating. And then go back and ask, what nurturement, what nutrients, what nourishment am I planting into the soil of my soul? And then go back at that and say, where are my thoughts? Are my thoughts grounded in God consciousness? Our work is to increase our understanding and alignment with oneness. We stand on the solidarity of beliefs that we are in alignment with the highest truth we can discern. And Ernest Holmes offers these ideas of truth, and I'm summarizing what he has shared. And he says, in our lives, everything flows from our beliefs, whether they are harmful, whether they are harmful whether they are helpful or harmful. These two H's. So our beliefs, we start with our beliefs, and our beliefs can either be helpful or harmful. And as we align we align our individual mind with big mind or capital mind, as we some say, with the capital M, or high self, whatever terminology we use to identify our connection with the one, then the law supports us with that flow of life energy, and it shows up in a multitude of ways in our individual lives. And so let's look at some of the beliefs. And our book for this month is Living the Science of Mind, which is a companion to the Science of Mind textbook. And there's a great, really breakdown of Ernest Holmes' statement, What We Believe. We also know it as the Declaration of Principles. And this is on page 83 through 106 in Living the Science of Mind. And I'm just going to cover portions of that. So our first foundational belief is, and this is which our whole teaching stands on, is that we believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. I think we all recognize that from our statement of belief. The name used for God, Ernest says, we believe in God. And then he describes the living Spirit Almighty, one, indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. Now for Holmes, all of these were ways of expressing this identity, another way of attempting to name the nameless. And so the word used for God is really unimportant. I see some frowns. Good. I'm not declaring heresy. Because we're each individual, we have our own way of connecting. One of my classmates would often start her treatments with saying, I invite you to connect with the idea of God that resonates in your own heart. Whatever that image is, whatever that belief is, whatever that symbol is, whatever that word is, call that to mind. So we each have within our own heart space this connection with Spirit. So therefore, the name is unimportant. What is important is that we identify it that has a meaning for us. Whatever name works to convey in our minds that infinite presence is the name that we use. The name may change over time as our understanding and our relationship with the infinite changes. The important thing is to realize that there's only oneness. And this reminded me, and in fact, I shared it on my social media page. There's a new meme that's going around, that's floating around that says, over time, my thoughts and my beliefs have changed. My ideas have changed. And it's not that I have become fickle or that those were wrong at that time. It's that I now have a new understanding and a new way of looking at things. And so this is how our spiritual practices allow us to evolve. We develop new eyes, new ways of looking at things. And no matter what the appearances are around us, we can invoke these feelings based on the beliefs, and we realize that God is within us at all times and in all places and in all ways. We often say that God is closer than the breath that we breathe, and I want to say God is the breath that we breathe. It reminds me of this beautiful chant by Ricky Byers, the breath of God is breathing me. I'm resting in the breath of God, and I know that all is well. And so as we release our fears and feelings of separation, we return to the awareness of God as one. This one God manifests itself in and through all creation, but is not absorbed by its creation. And this means that goodness is more than what it creates. So God is more than this. The second belief on which our teaching is founded is that God incarnates itself and takes on form as people. and it takes on form as all people. It does not select which individual or which group of people, which ethnicity, which country of origin, what sexual orientation is, whatever the labels are that we use to divide ourselves. This is not true of this infinite intelligence. It takes on form as each and every one of us. There is a nature called soul within us, and it is therefore eternal and ever expanding. God is not some remote principle. God is not something that we can put in a pigeonhole or create a cubbyhole for and label it and pick up the box called label when we need God. God does not work that way. It is who we are, and we are who it is. It is the very life that we are. It is personal to all. And we like to say God is within us, which is true, and we're also within God. And I remember one of my first affirmations, and it is my fallback affirmation whenever I find myself in a situation where, it's like, okay, I don't have time to formulate a spiritual mind treatment, and I don't have time to, to go out and grab these affirmations. And it simply is, on the in-breath, God in me, and on the out-breath, I in God. So I can just say, God in me, I in God. God in me, I in God. And that immediately brings me back to that place of calm and remembering my foundation. And this is a place where we experience life, love, wisdom, power, peace, beauty, and joy. This is our divine beingness. And again, we experience this to the degree that we become conscious of it. And the way we become conscious of it is to think thoughts of God. Think thoughts of God. So as I'm moving throughout my day, as I'm looking around me and experiencing whatever is before me, if I can see God, an element of God in each one of those experiences, then that is a way of thinking thoughts of God. Thinking thoughts of God does not require us to sacrifice this material world, become hermits, sit in a lotus position and chant whatever we chant all day long. That practice works for some people. It would not work for me. I know that. But thinking thoughts of God, call to mind in your own imagination or discover what works for you as thoughts of God. And as we're thinking those thoughts of God, we recognize that there is no separation. A third foundational belief that helps us to understand how the infinite beingness expresses through us, Holmes says it this way: through our intuition, we can be revealers of truth by living in close contact with this divinity. And someone asked, how do we do that? And Holmes responded, through meditation and contemplation of the divine nature. Again, bringing us back to our thoughts of God. This is where we live in close contact with the indwelling presence, because we are aware of its activity and its divinity in and through our lives. We are constantly surrounded by this creative mind, which receives the direct impress of our thought and acts upon it. And an impress merely means making a mark. So whatever our thought is that we think into the infinite mind, whatever those thoughts are, they take on form and they come back and show up as experiences in our lives. The people that bring us joy, the people that know which button to push because we allowed them to install the button. The people that bring light and laughter and joy, and those people whose beliefs are different from ours. And where we move to eliminate the separation and recognize our oneness is when we take the time to listen from a place of understanding rather than listening to respond. When we listen for understanding, that way we learn the heart. We get to know the heart of another individual. And through that listening for understanding, we just might discover that we're a little bit more alike than we actually are different. And yet, our differences are not to be eliminated. Our differences are not to be tossed aside or put on a shelf someplace, because our differences are what make us unique. So it is celebrating our differences rather than trying to have everyone think like we think, behave like we behave, go where we go, do what we do. How boring that would be. How boring would that be? And it would be dangerous if everybody thought like me. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. No. Someone said, if you really want to know what I'm like, hang out for a day in my mind. I don't invite anyone to do that, okay? But it is through recognizing the uniqueness that we bring to the table. And maybe that would be another way of looking at it. Rather than focusing on differences, let's identify how we are unique and the uniqueness that we bring into the table. For many of us, we celebrated Thanksgiving a couple of days ago. And Thanksgiving is normally centered around a big meal. And I understand that there was I was with my family, and I understand there was a nice celebration here at the center. And it was a coming together of spiritual family, of friends that have developed a connection over the years of being a part of this community. And it is through those connections that we also recognize the uniqueness and the unique characteristics of each person that comes to the table. So what better way to come to the table than to sit down and break bread together, to laugh, to tell stories. It's fun for me when I'm around my family, and there were more adults this time that the little ones were off with their other grandparents or family members. And so stories were being shared about some of the things that my daughters did when they were younger, and things that I didn't know about or their mother didn't know about. And so I could smile and laugh and at the same time give gratitude because they're not strung out on drugs, they're not in jail, they have not harmed anybody. It's just a part of growing up, the uniqueness that is a part of their lives experiences, which will influence their children and their children's children. And this is how it works. This is how the nature of this creativity works through this universal mind. It is important to note that that there's a power in our mind. And it is through aligning, as we align this power with our universal mind, then we can truly control conditions and appearances. And the collective thought of the millennia, which is unaware of the divine, can be shifted just by our thoughts. We can think something into existence and it will happen. And so as we bring this part of the series to a conclusion, we have identified some of the core beliefs of science of mind teaching. And this is the solid air or thought upon which we stand. Our beliefs form our thoughts. Our beliefs form our thoughts. And since the law is impersonal, we can use it in ignorance or in superstition, which results in the challenges that we face in our lives. Or we can use the law to gain wisdom, to gain understanding, and to align with the nature of this infinite presence and allow ourselves to be conduits of its nature. We know that the divine nature is more real than what we could tend to call reality, more solid than what appears to be around us. And as a gymnast completes their performance, they land and they stick to the landing. They land on solid ground. And so we land on solid ground where our beliefs know and our beliefs ignite the oneness that we're all here for God. And so our call to action this morning, if you're willing to accept it, is to just notice just notice, when I am turning something less than satisfactory away, something less satisfactory than I prefer, when I am turning it away, I ask myself the following question. Since the law, the creative process, always manifests my beliefs, what does this result show that I may be believing beneath the surface? And so if something is facing us that may be causing some discomfort, it's the time to ask ourselves, what am I believing below the surface? And I invite us now to say together our affirmation for the morning. I stand on solid thoughts to co-direct the flow of my life. Let's say that again. I stand on solid thoughts to co-direct the flow of my life. And so now let us turn within and know together with me that there's only one life, only one power, only one presence. It lives, moves, and has its beingness as that which is the creator of all that there is. And as I recognize my oneness with all that there is, I unify myself with this grand idea. I know this to be the truth for each person that is gathered here in our center, those who are joining us via technology, those are part of our Zoom family, part of our Facebook family, a part of our YouTube community. We are all one in the spirit. How grateful it is to know that this oneness crosses time zones, crosses cities, intersects with different areas and different times, and yet it is all one. How good it is to know that this life that lives and moves and breathes itself through me is that life which is holding everything in perfect harmony. And in that harmony, there's peace, there's joy, there's compassion, there is love. There is that unconditional presence that is always within us. And so I speak a word of gratitude and blessing this morning for places where individuals are coming together in the name and nature of the one life, the one love. I speak a word of blessing this morning for those who are experiencing transitions in their lives, those family members, those loved ones that have stepped off of this mortal plane into the next greater yet to be, knowing that life is eternal. And each time there is a memory, there is a story, there is a recall of that individual or those individuals collectively. This is where I believe that eternal life takes place, because they live on in the hearts and the memories of those who are yet here. And I do believe that they have gone ahead of us to join and to prepare a place for us as we leave this experience and journey into the next experience of life. I speak a word of blessing this morning for those who are desiring and seeking right and perfect shelter, right and perfect livelihood, right and perfect circumstances in their lives that bring meaning, that bring a sense of joy and celebration that says, I am safe. I know that in the mind of this infinite intelligence that I am whole, that I am complete, and I am perfect in all ways and in all things. Whatever the idea of perfection is, we embrace it, we affirm it, and we declare it as the truth. For those prayer requests that remain in the hearts of each one, knowing that the answer is already yes and amen, I give thanks for the demonstrations that are occurring in each life. And for this and so much more, I am truly grateful, and I release this word now back into that law, which always says yes. And if any of what I have said resonates with you in any way, Let us affirm it together by saying, and so it is. And so it is. This is our opportunity to share our abundance through the medium of offering. And as we prepare for our offering, there is a statement of abundance, and I invite us to say that together. I recognize the presence of God within as a source of my abundance. Out of my abundance consciousness flows everything I could desire in life. With gratitude and thanksgiving, I now participate in the flow of uninterrupted abundance. Thank you for the ways that you continue to support our center through mailing in your donations or texting to give. That information is on our screen. And also you may donate through our website, montereycsl.org. We thank you for your donations. And just a little reminder, during the week, my mail goes to my post office box, and so I get a daily note from the post office of what is in my box. And so I can choose to go down and pick it up. You know, is this important or can it wait a day or so? And so there was an envelope that was identified as a payment stub, a statement. It was a payment statement was how the envelope was identified. And so I initially my thoughts go to the harmful side, if you will. And I'm thinking, okay, what vendor is this that's trying to sell me something and has given me a check in advance for this? And so curiosity then got the better of me. So I went to the post office, and when I opened it up, it was an actual check. And it was a gift for services that I had performed much earlier in the year. And my intention was to volunteer my services for this. And then I received an email saying, can you provide your mailing address? We want to send you something. So several months have gone by, and here was this wonderful check that was in the mail. And so I'm sharing that with you to just offer a reminder. When we receive unexpected miracles, unexpected abundance in our life, it's an opportunity to tithe on that abundance. And so I will be submitting my online donation, a tithe, from that particular unexpected abundance. Other ways that unexpected abundance show up is being gifted lunch, or being gifted a dinner, or being treated to a movie, being treated to the opera, or whatever it is that normally you would pay for and someone gifts that to you. Just a nice way of supporting our community is tithing on whatever the value is that you received from that gift. So I just offer that as a nice little reminder to another way of participating in the flow of abundance. For our Facebook and YouTube families, just a couple of things to share with you. December the 1st through 24th is the season of Advent, and this is a practice of hope and joy. Today, December 1st, is World AIDS Day, and the theme for 2024 is Take the Right Path, Make Health My Right. And we do believe and we know that the world can end AIDS if everyone is protected. Tuesday, December 3rd, is Giving Tuesday, and this is an opportunity to support our local organizations that are doing good in the world, the mutual aid networks and community organizers. And it's also an opportunity to do an act of kindness. So Giving Tuesday, normally we think of that as associated with making a donation to a worthwhile organization or a cause. We can also do an act of kindness by helping a neighbor, or identifying a cause that gets you fired up and give back. And we can extend this beyond Giving Tuesday to make it a daily practice. And so we invite you to join us next week as we continue our December theme, Sticking the Landing, And our topic for next week is Hearts Ablaze. And just to give you a little preview, sometimes we feel ourselves in times of being bound emotionally, and we forget to allow the true spirit to fully vibrate and express through us. Hearts ablaze are those core emotions of love, which is a pure nature of spirit. And we let the divine love express through us, and we literally love what we truly desire into existence. And so we say, God bless you to our Facebook and YouTube family. And whenever you're reviewing this, we invite you to like, to share, and to comment, and also ring that little bell so that you get notification of the next time that we are live and with you. So God bless you and good morning.